In the heart of Sikkim, nestled high in the eastern Himalayas, lies Tendong, a serene yet shadowed hill known for its dense fog, whispering forests, and an unsettling silence that creeps under the skin. For centuries, local folklore has painted the mountain as a place where spirits linger, where time warps, and where not everyone who enters returns the same, if they return at all. One particular case, long buried in whispers and fragmented documents, tells of 3 young men from Odisha, Bimol, Prakash, and Jojo, whose brief journey to Tendong turned into a descent into madness, supernatural terror, and death. What began as an adventure turned into something no rational mind could explain. Bimol and his close friends, Prakash and Jojo, planned a short mountain getaway to escape the summer heat and seek some thrill in the mysterious highlands of Sikkim. They booked a secluded wooden homestay perched near a curve in the road, ominously known as Death Road, a name whispered by locals with unease. Upon arrival, they felt a strange weight in the air, something unnatural. The homestay was quaint, yet oddly cold and silent, as though it had been abandoned just moments before their arrival. The first night brought subtle disturbances, water dripping with no source, light bulbs flickering despite stable electricity, and shifting shadows at the windows. The mountains, normally a haven of peace, had turned into something watching them. Jojo was the first to notice the white figure on the veranda, a human-like shape clothed in white, still as a statue. Prakash brushed it off as fog, but things escalated. A scraping noise emerged from the bathroom, followed by the creak of its door opening by itself. Then came the footsteps outside their room, soft, deliberate, but unmistakably hovering. Jojo noticed 2 foot-shaped shadows under the door that didn't touch the floor. At 2:15 a.m., the room violently shook. Screams, hundreds of them, echoed from outside. But when they opened the window, nothing was there. Nothing but fog and the faint echo of breathing. Panicking, Bimol opened an old wooden wardrobe and found something strange inside. A dusty, red-covered diary. It belonged to a girl named Asha, and tucked within its pages was a letter from her friend, Rafa. The letter was a warning, cryptic and terrified, detailing a past trip to Tendong that had ended in horror. According to Rafa, Asha had vanished into the fog during their visit, only to return, changed. Her reflection vanished in mirrors. She muttered about shadows and a centuries-old clock in Victoria Boys High School that didn't tell time, but tracked souls. Rafa claimed that an entity had attached itself to Asha, waiting to take her back through a door that would open at 3:30 a.m. The diary continued in Asha's own hand. She, Rafa, and her brother Raj had visited the same locations. Deer Park, where the silence was unnerving and a sorrowful song played from nowhere. They then visited the ruins of the Victoria Boys High School, where Asha saw reddish eyes in a shattered window. The final stop was an abandoned wooden cottage near Death Road. There, the carvings were bizarre, the air was heavy, and the clock inside was broken. Stuck at 3:30. When night fell, they saw the mirror reflect not their faces, but smoky, floating spheres. Raj panicked. Asha saw something non-human watching them through the window. 3 knocks came. They fled into the dark, chased. Later, back at the homestay, Asha reported that she couldn't see her reflection. She collapsed. When she woke, the clock read 3:30 a.m. again. Rafa, entranced, opened the door. A shadow entered. Rafa's expression changed. She smiled unnaturally and whispered, "They took Raj. I'm going too." Then she ran into the forest. Asha was alone. Everyone else had vanished. After reading the diary, Bimol blacked out. He awoke 3 days later in Odisha. He had no memory of what happened. His mother told him that Rafa had been admitted to a psychiatric facility in a semi-catatonic state. A local newspaper detailed the grim discovery. A young man's corpse found inside a ruined cottage in Tendong. A second person, an unidentified girl, was unconscious beside him. The third, presumably Bimol, was found collapsed at the doorway. The man was Raj. Rafa was the girl in the hospital. Asha had vanished, and Bimol couldn't explain any of it. 1 week later, Bimol visited Rafa in the hospital. Though she could not speak, she gestured, eyes wide, trembling hands, indicating that they were still near. From that point, Bimol began to change. His eyes grew distant. He claimed to see a smoky figure behind him in mirrors. He received a letter delivered by a stranger that seemed to be from Rafa. In it were scrawled phrases. "Your shadow is no longer yours," and "You can't escape." Bimol began to lose time. He would wake up with soil on his hands and scratches beneath his nails, with no memory of leaving his house. One morning, he found words scratched on his window pane. "Time is up." Feeling that the only way to end the torment was to return, Bimol made the trip back to Tendong. He booked the same room. He entered the old cottage alone. At 3:30 a.m., the door creaked open by itself. A cold wind swept through. In the mirror, Bimol no longer saw himself. Instead, the reflection showed a burning wooden room, lifeless bodies, and the same broken clock stuck at 3:30. A haunting, sweet melody echoed through the space. He realized then he was never meant to survive. He had been chosen not as a victim, but as a vessel. The last diary page was torn mid-sentence. The story ended there. When Precaution Jojo later recounted the event, they described flickering lights, the clock exploding at 3:30, and the three of them breaking a window to escape after finding the door locked from the outside. They ran through the fog, chased by unseen entities, bleeding from cuts that had appeared without contact. A silent driver picked them up near Death Road, claiming the homestay had been closed for years. Doctors blamed high-altitude psychosis, but the men never returned to the mountains. Bimol was never seen again. If Rafa and Asha are alive today, they would be around the age of Bimol's mother. But no one knows for certain. The diary was never recovered, and Tendong remains quiet, cloaked in fog, and watching. Never go near Death Road after midnight. Never answer the knock. And if the clock stops at 3:30, leave everything and run.